Germany wants to permanently station a 4,000-strong combat force in Lithuania to strengthen NATO's eastern flank. A good 2 weeks before the NATO summit in Vilnius, German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius surprisingly announced during a visit to Lithuania on Monday that a brigade would be relocated to the country bordering Russia and Belarus. By 2026 at the latest, the Lithuanian government wants to build the weapons and ammunition depots, training areas and accommodation for the troops and their families. Then Lithuania will become what is currently the largest German army base abroad. Germany is ready to station a robust brigade in Lithuania on a permanent basis, as was Pistorius said after a meeting with Lithuania's defense minister Arvydas Anušauskas. He justified the step with German history. Until the end of the Cold War, Germany was on NATO's eastern flank, he said. We were the ones who could always rely on our NATO partners to stand by us in an emergency and fight with us for our freedom and security in Germany. And today, Poland and the Baltic states are particularly exposed. And we, the Federal Republic of Germany, expressly acknowledge our responsibility and our obligation as a NATO member state and the largest economy in Europe to protect the eastern flank. The Bundeswehr has been represented in Lithuania since 2017, currently with around 800 soldiers. In response to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the German government pledged in June 2022 to significantly increase its presence and have a full combat troop brigade ready to defend Lithuania in the event of an attack. So far, however, it has been disputed whether the soldiers should be stationed permanently in Lithuania or only sent there temporarily for exercises. Lithuania vehemently demanded a permanent presence. For a long time, the federal government was very reluctant to comment on this, and now, for the first time, there has been a clear commitment, but on two conditions. Lithuania will build the necessary infrastructure, which the government in Vilnius has already promised, and the consent of the NATO Commander-in-Chief for Europe is required, which in the current situation is considered a mere formality, of course. The 4,000 soldiers represent a significant support for the Lithuanian armed forces. They have 15,000 soldiers, including 3,500 conscripts. By 2030, there should be 17,000 to 18,000 soldiers. Lithuania has 2.8 million inhabitants. And heavy weapons and other military equipment are also to be brought to Lithuania with the soldiers. The permanent stationing means that the soldiers do not rotate after just 4 to 6 months, as was the case in Afghanistan or now in Mali, for example. As Pistorius said, some of them will even move there with their families. The prerequisite for stationing is the creation of the necessary infrastructure by the Lithuanian authorities. President Nausėda assured that this would happen by 2026 at the latest. If it works out in 2025, he wouldn't be angry, he joked. In Lithuania, we have a strong political will to find the necessary financial resources to be able to finance the infrastructure needed, emphasized the president. The German soldiers are to be transferred to Lithuania step by step, depending on the progress of construction. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg paid tribute to the troop deployment that Pistorius announced just a few days before the NATO summit on July 11th and 12th in Vilnius. We welcome the German leadership very much, he said. The announcement would show the strong German commitment to the collective defense, to the common security. So far, there's only one command post of the German brigade in Lithuania, which is usually manned by 20 soldiers. Most of the Panzergrenadier Brigade 41 Vorpommern is kept ready at various locations in Germany. In the event of some kind of tension, it should be possible to transfer it to the Baltic country within 10 days. And this is currently being practiced for the third time. Pistorius caught a glimpse of this in Lithuania, along with Nausėda and Stoltenberg, at the Prabade military training area just a few kilometers from the Belarusian border. In the past few days, around 300 tanks and other vehicles have been transferred to Lithuania, in addition to around 1,000 soldiers for the maneuvers scheduled for July 7th. The Bundeswehr has been present, as I said, in Lithuania for 6 years with several hundred soldiers. In Rukla, Germany is leading a NATO battle group with around 1,600 soldiers, around 780 of them from the Bundeswehr. What will happen to this association when the German brigade is stationed in Lithuania is still unclear, though. But after the aborted uprising of the Wagner mercenaries in Russia, now Zeda sees the importance of the troops on NATO's eastern flank to be even greater. The events of the past weekend in Russia have shown the instability of the Kremlin regime. That is what he said about this. And this could mean even greater challenges in the future. Now, Zeda had already called on Sunday to increase the troop presence on NATO's eastern flank if Wagner boss Yevgeny Prigozhin ended up in exile in Belarus with unclear intentions. I'm not just talking about Lithuania here, but about NATO as a whole, now Zeda said. However, Pistorius pointed out that technically the German brigade could not be completely relocated to Lithuania at this point. However, one is in close contact with NATO and Lithuania in order to be on guard, so to speak, and to be able to react quickly to a changed threat situation. And yeah, this is good news for Lithuania and good that the German government is doing that. And it is very different to have a permanent base in Lithuania than all the things that were in Afghanistan or Mali or whatever. I myself, when I was in the Air Force, I was stationed in another country as well, but on a normal basis because it was the Netherlands. We had a base there where we were training, etc. And I was living in the Netherlands. And I was based there on a permanent basis. Of course, if you are becoming an officer and so on, every stationing you are is just a very time-limited one. But there were people living there much longer than I did. And it was a permanent base. And in Lithuania, it will be the same. And there will be soldiers with their families moving there and so on. So this is not just an away mission like Afghanistan or Mali. This is a normal German base then in Lithuania, which is very good for getting in contact with the local population and everything as well, by the way, and getting to know your host country. I really loved my stay in the Netherlands, and I'm not in the Bundeswehr anymore, but I would love to stay in Lithuania as well. But I definitely will visit someday, but I didn't have the chance so far. But I someday will. And if you're interested on other things going on this planet, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.